my life has never been the same after that, after 14 and a half months in Korea. And trying to get the government, my government or the Department of Veteran Affairs, to recognize that it's been 22 years. The Korean government sent me, after the 50-year anniversary of the Korean War, they sent me a medal for service to their country. How do the Korean government have a record of my service, but my government don't have a record of my service? You know what I'm saying?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to that video?
I don't care.
This was just a couple of weeks ago that Hollis was in Washington, D.C., and he was invited to the Congressional Black Caucus by Congressman Rangel himself. And while he was there, you'll see in this clip, he interviewed some Buffalo soldiers, and he actually met with Secretary Peake.
Right,
which you'll see
Dr. James Peake.
If you can roll this clip, Eric.
Whew.
After Korea, I had a pocket full of money when I was discharged. I had the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, 4 battle stars, 4 stripes. I look good. But when I went to get a job, agreement was almost reached. So where do we go from here? Well, we're not going to run and just do something because they're scaring us to death. And so you will see that there's going to be a lot of disruptions in members who expected to be here with you each and every day and each and every time. I have a tax bill on the floor now, extend this. I have an energy bill on the floor, and I'm meeting with Pelosi this morning to see what we have to do to make this package work. The people in the streets are angry as hell, and we have the responsibility of trying to explain to them why it is so important that we go to the very same people who caused the problem to bail them out. But without them, we ain't got nothing. We ain't got our houses, we ain't got our pensions, we don't have our thrift account.
All right.
Okay.
There's Hollis right in the front row with Congressman Rangel.
Yeah, it's just not in the front row. Congressman Rangel, for the last 2 years, has been assisting me. I met him in Washington, in Georgetown, at Barnes & Noble bookstore, where he was had a book signing thing, and introduced myself and told him about my Korean experience. He says, I'm going to help you with your claim. And his aide, Emil Malign, they've been corresponding back and forth, and that's how I got to the Congressional Black Caucus Brain Trust meeting at the Convention Center, where Dr. James Peake was the speaker of that at the convention.
We're going to show that clip where you actually met him. Yeah.
Got a chance to meet Dr. Peake and his aide, Mr. Blair, and his security guard. I mean,
Well, before we get to that clip, just interesting about your stress disorders.
Yeah.
What are the symptoms? Now, you mentioned memory loss.
Okay, I'll tell you another symptom. I'll tell you a recent symptom. I was in D.C. the day of the Virginia Tech shooting at the school. I came upstairs, I turned the TV on, and at that time it was just happening, coming on the news, in 4 o'clock news. And somebody on the campus at Virginia Tech had a cell phone camera, and they were showing some of the pictures, and you could just hear pop, 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 pop in the background.
Yeah, I can remember that.
And pop, 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 pop. And I was sitting there, and looked like them bullets was hitting me, looked like they were going through my chest. So I sat there, I didn't I didn't turn it off. I sat there because it was the news, and I was sitting there, and I know what was going on, listening, and the thing, then they started unfolding. Then when they showed the picture of the Korean guy with his cap on back, when they had 2 guns like this, and I was upstairs in the room where I stayed at, I locked the door, I got out on the floor, I started looking for a weapon. And I had a butter knife. I found a butter knife. I put the butter knife in my mouth, and I got out on the floor, and I got to the window and started listening. And so I didn't come down for dinner. And somebody said, hey, it's dinner time, Candy, come on down, come on eat dinner. And I didn't come down. And so I didn't want them to know how agitated I was. I didn't want to be around them, but I was scared. So being in Washington, the next day I went to the Washington D.C. Veterans Hospital, VA Hospital, and sure enough, they was having Vietnam veterans, PTSD groups, and Korean veterans. And I walked in that room, and they interviewed me, and I walked in that room with them Korean veterans, and them old guys sitting there with their canes and said, come on in, kid, have a seat. Man, I felt so comfortable, you know what I mean? I was okay, because I was back with some veterans.
Back in your environment.
You know, and I wasn't scared no more. But it's that stuff like that. It's that intrusive thoughts. I don't know where they come from. The stuff about the war just started crossing my mind.
Do you think that you went to war at a very early age? 15 would not be allowed.
Right.
Do you think if you had 3, 4, a couple more years of growing up that you wouldn't have acted, you wouldn't have had these symptoms?
I think so, because at 15, and this is what the psychologists and the psychiatrists, because I see a psychologist and a psychiatrist at the Long Beach VA, and she told me that it was during my formative years while I was growing. She said, you came up in a combat zone. So all that stuff grew up with you, and it's right there. It's right in my head, right there. You know, I mean, I can smell gunpowder in my nose when we landed in Korea in 1952. I can still, the sky was pink. The gunpowder was in my nose. I can still smell it. I can smell it right today. So it's like, you know what it's like? It's like, I'm going to share this. I'm going to break my anonymity. I was also an alcoholic. And I didn't get sober till I found out that alcoholism was a disease. And it's an incurable disease. PTSD is a disease. It's an incurable disease. I take medication. I see the psychiatrist. I go to PTSD group, but I still got PTSD and gonna have it till the day I die. But I got some coping skills now. I don't have to treat it with drugs and alcohol as I did in the past. You know, and then I try and go back and find other veterans. I was on Skid Row Saturday night at a meeting. I go down on Skid Row and I try and get other veterans who are on drugs and alcohol and share with them my experience, strength, and hope to help them. You know, the VA's got programs for substance abuse and